Hey folks, and a very warm welcome to another episode of This is HCD. I am excited to have you with me for the next hour or so with the best-selling author Hector Garcia. And before we jump into this episode, I want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Miro, one of my own personal and professional favourite collaboration tools. As many of us find ourselves working remotely, we've been forced to design new ways to collaborate and connect. And that need will probably never disappear. And as I know many of you will probably understand this, the oldest form of communication on the internet is still email. And even though some businesses have built marketing campaigns and business models off the back of trying to kill it, we still find ourselves checking it several times a day. It's still used to deliver critical content that is critical to our projects, no matter what industry you're in. Now, if you receive 10 or 20 or even 30 of these long critical emails each day, we find ourselves being a slave to that process. So rather than feed that fire, why not look to create an alternative process that takes the oxygen away from the fire in the first place, and use Miro to demonstrate what you're talking about, and record a video and share it with your team. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video must be worth 10 times that. Now, you've not only saved yourself time, you've saved yourself team time, but you've also increased the level of comprehension for all involved. There really is very few downsides, so try it out today and make some small changes to how you're currently working. It's worked for me, so visit www.miro.com/podcast, where you'll get 3 free canvases for life, for free. Back to Hector. So many of you will probably heard of the term Ikigai, the Japanese concept for aligning our lives to our purpose. Something I'm deeply involved in at the moment through many of my coaching programs. Hector has written 2 of the best-selling books on this topic and is based in Japan himself. In this conversation, I get into areas of the methods that Hector himself suggests, but also does himself on a day-to-day or a week-by-week and a month-by-month basis. By the end of this conversation, you will understand not only what Ikigai is, but also how to start weaving its principles into your day-to-day life. We actually became fast friends on this episode, and I've actually invited Hector back onto the podcast in a few months to catch up. So if you're a member of Premium This is HCD, you'll be able to ask him a question. Not a member yet? Well, the link is in the show notes, and it costs only €3.99 per month for an ad-free stream with some additional perks along the way. Let's jump into the episode.
Yeah. In fact, it was one of my first experiences in my life. Like getting out of Spain I was 1 month in Dublin in a summer school by my own without my
Learn
parents, and
English.
so it was like my first memories in my life of being on my own, walking in a city. It's in Dublin. Like
Very cool. What age were you when you were in Dublin?
I remember going to bookstores, video game stores.
Yeah,
There was also Warhammer stores in those times.
that's
So
right.
those
Still
like
there.
I want, I had my pocket money. I had like, okay, how do you, what do I buy this summer?
Yeah.
And it was
What
my
year were
first
you here?
experience.
When were you here?
Probably I'm talking about 1995, something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
I remember I had my first Windows computer, and I was in Ireland with a little bit of money, and I remember I bought a computer game Command and Conquer and Red
Oh, yeah.
Alert.
I remember that.
I bought them in Dublin, and then I went back to Spain to
Yeah.
play video games. And then
It's
this funny story is probably my next experience living in a city. It's in Tokyo, like because
wow.
I'm from a little village in Spain. So for me, it was like, okay, this is a city.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
like
true. Dublin was probably a big city, whereas like when you compare it to somewhere like Tokyo or London
yes.
or even
Mm,
Barcelona, you're like, it's just a village. Like Dublin is quite small in that
yes.
sense when you compare it,
Mm,
you know. The power of comparison is really good. Like I had a conversation with somebody last night. And we were talking about, working in many different types of organizations and what that gives the mind being able to compare against one thing of another. How do you see the fact that you've lived in all of these different places and you've come from a relatively small village outside of Valencia? What do you think that gave you as an individual?
I think it's important to experience all. I don't think that you sometimes try like this is better or worse. Like I think it's important to experience all,
Yeah.
and then and I think it also depends on your which phase you are in your life, and
Mhm.
then maybe you like more. I think in your 20s and your 30s, probably being in a very vibrant big city is what that's what keeps me in Tokyo
Yeah.
because it's people think always in terms of opportunities, and that's true. Like in a big city, it's much easier to find opportunities.
Mm.
I think it's also like the uh, ideas, like the type of people that will go to a big city, and the density of those ideas. It becomes a very. I think Tokyo, if you look at it, is a city of many trends in Asia. Many
Yeah.
start in Tokyo. It's like New York or LA, Los
Yeah.
Angeles in the US. Like in LA, they create a movie and then something happens. So,
Yeah.
whereas I'm very grateful to have like the first 20 years of my life being in a village. Like you almost know, not everyone, but like there is 3 4 schools, like everyone, you know, all the kids, you have your friends.
Yeah.
That's also very warm and nice. It's like being in, I look at it as now, okay, I was living almost in paradise. I had a very
Yeah.
grateful for a
It.
very nice childhood.
Mm.
So I think experiencing all, and then you can shift your mode. I think like there is some people, they get addicted to cities and they can only live in a city. I think
Yeah.
I can
You can
shift
move.
modes. I think I prefer now to be on holidays, go to a quiet place.
Yeah. Not
So
to another city. So, what did giving or living in a village give you? Like, what were the values that were instilled with you? And what was the relationship between village living? Because like, you lived there for your formative years from 0 to 20. You had a couple of experiences. You came to Dublin, so you probably got to see, another city, another
yes,
perspective.
like
But what were the key values that you learned as a child through living in village,
I think that
Spain?
respect, like almost like everyone thinking that I think some people that they have been born and they've been all their lives in a city,
Hmm.
they don't feel a sense of everyone is your family. We're all human beings, and in a village, at the end of the day, has everyone is kind of family. So if you do something good, like there is this concept of karma. It's not Japanese; it's from India, but
Yeah,
is
I know.
if you do good things, probably you, good things will come back to you. If you do bad things to people, like people, this is also like there are also bad things in living. If you think it in another way, in a village, there are also people complain. Oh, everyone is how do you say gossiping,
Yeah,
gossiping. But that's human nature, and I think it's if you do good things, people will gossip good things about you. Or maybe there
yeah,
is in Spain there is lots of jealousy and envy.
yeah.
I think those are that's that's okay. That teaches you a lot. So it's like,
Mm,
okay, I have to be careful. Because if I say something bad, it will have consequences. Whereas when I came to a very big city, the effect was a little bit different. It's like, oh wow, I'm
yeah,
on my own here. I can be a little bit of I can be doing wild things here. Like many foreigners, when we come to Japan or to
mm,
Tokyo, and you're on your own, and like you start, like, you go wild.
yeah,
So you have to be, and then you start catching yourself. Okay, I'm like no one. You can disappear basically in Tokyo.
pretty much. I can imagine. I've
Uh,
never been. I want to go though.
like,
My
you
friend
can.
Eduardo lives there, and he keeps on saying you need to.
So you have a feeling of, I think, of freedom and everything,
And
but there's also a
I
feeling
mean,
it can become it's a double sword. Like it can become also loneliness.
yeah,
So I think that's the I learned a lot about human psychology. Like you can, I think,
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's really interesting because when I was researching, like I obviously found out a number of years ago, maybe I don't know, close to 10 years ago, I heard the phrase Ikigai. Okay, I hadn't really heard about it
Mm.
before. And then I remember seeing people talk about your book. Okay, and I was like, okay, this person has written a book, but when you start delving into your past, you've written lots of books. Okay, like, and
Yeah.
you've got like close to 9 or 10, I think, as it is from
Yes. Now it's around 10 books.
one
Yeah.
time, which is pretty
Almost.
incredible. How do you describe to people when you're in that awkward situation of when people ask you that question that I still fear? What do you do? How do you describe? How do you respond to that?
What is it? That's
What do you do?
you do. I say I'm a writer. I write books. That's what
Yeah.
I say.
And do people
Mm.
usually just stop there? Do they just kind of go, okay, that's they can understand?
No, that's the weird thing. Like people
Yeah.
say, so what do you do confer because I'm like, do you do conferences or do you do podcasts? And like I show up in
Yeah.
podcasts for of other people, but I don't have my own podcast.
Not
And
yet, anyway.
people try to make me do things that are not. That's interesting. It's like writing is not enough. They say you should do
Yeah.
your own podcast. You should do your but and maybe I will fall into the temptation of doing something else. But now I'm very stubborn. I'm very focused on because in fact that's my message in my book. I
Yeah.
think I wrote my book Ikigai a little bit for myself
Mm,
and like really focusing on what you're good at and what you love.
yeah.
It yeah, it's what is in the phase I am now. Like maybe in the I also say like the ikigai or your focus in your life can change. So maybe
Mm,
later I might start doing other things, but now
yeah.
I'm very focused on writing,
And
trying
writing.
to see.
And you're doing a great job with that as well. And you enjoy it. So let's
Yes.
talk let's talk about the journey, your own personal journey towards writing that book. You mentioned that you were almost writing it for yourself. Um,
Mm.
what did you study, or did you study in university, and how did you end up in Tokyo? What's the
So
fascination with Japanese culture as well
I'm 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 originally I can say I don't know what word you use in England or Dublin in
in Ireland?
Ireland.
Yeah.
Uh, you use nerd or a geek in the
Yeah.
US or otaku we use in
Okay.
Japan. I love computers and I love video games and my dream was I would want to someday create my own video games, like
All
being
right.
a video game programmer. Like I wanted
Right.
to be work at Nintendo or something. I was dreaming like I was wondering always like why do all like cool stuff like video game in the 90s everything came from Japan, so that
Yeah.
was a
Yeah. True.
huge it was a huge mystery for me, like why are all these why can't Spanish people do Nintendo
Yeah.
video games, like why is Japanese uh,
What's
why
going
are
on over
Japanese
there?
so yeah what's going on over there, and then I looked in the map, it's like oh it's very far away,
Yeah.
and here
I
I
would
am.
complain.
But- and then so yeah I studied computer science,
Ah,
software engineering. Then I was for a while in Switzerland. And then in Japan, I was always working in IT internet companies.
okay.
But I realized since day one, I arrived. In fact, before coming to Japan, I was always writing. I'm a person has been always writing a diary for
Yeah.
myself. And when I came to Japan, from day one, I was writing in a blog.
Mm,
And in the blog, I was trying to answer myself all the questions. When you arrive to Japan, you have no idea. It's very shocking. Like it's like many things like you don't understand. Why are these things happening in this way? Why like I was answering myself questions about Japan.
yeah.
And after a while my blog became one of the most read blogs in Spain. That was
Yeah.
a success on the internet. Like the
Mm,
times where blogs were important before Twitter and Facebook. Like,
yeah.
and I put I converted that blog into a book, and I went to publishers, and all of them said no except one, and that was my first book. It came in 2008, or 15 years ago. It was
Okay.
the title is A Geek in Japan,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and it's still selling very strong. I think I wrote that book to be a timeless book about Japan for someone who wants to get the way for the first time. So,
Yeah.
have you ever been in Japan, Gary? Or
No,
not
I
yet?
haven't.
Then that's the book I would give you as a present, like before going to
Yeah.
Japan, or while you are traveling in Japan, or after you go to Japan without reading my book. Because my book might spoil you some things. So you come to
Yeah,
Japan, and after 15 days here, you freak out. You go back. You're all full of questions.
pretty much.
Then you read my book, A Geek in Japan, and it will bring you, now this makes sense.
Now I
So that
understand.
this still makes no sense. I don't agree with Hector. So
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
that's how my first book came to. And while working, like being working with computers and writing software, I realized that one of my skills in Teams was always I was good. I was at programming. I was average. But
Mm.
at writing documentation and helping clarify ideas, I think I was better than average.
How did you determine your average, Hector? How
I
was that?
don't know. That's a question I get a lot, and
Yeah.
probably you too. If you talk with I think it's something you realize. Let's talk in general. Like we are
Mm.
always when you're 15 years old, we all remember things that we are told by others. You are good at math or you are bad at math. You are good at this. You are at
Mm.
soccer. You are good at basketball, and we are told things. And
Yeah.
maybe it's a totally random thing that someone told you in this, or your father or your cousin told you, but that sticks in your mind because those are times you're growing,
Hmm.
and then it might become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If
Yeah.
someone starts telling you you're good at this, you're good at this, then you start doing it more.
Yeah.
So I've thought a lot about that,
Mm.
like and I was usually told that I was bad at writing.
You
So,
were.
and that stuck in my mind, I think. And then it's an act of rebellion.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm bad at writing. Let's see. So then I started writing more and more and more. So, and then I think to realize, have a self awareness of what you are good at or not, it takes it, it takes a lot of time, I think, to notice those things. I think it comes with experience. So you have to observe yourself and also other people, how they behave around you, and being honest with yourself.
Mm.
So, because, for example, programming, I wanted to be the best programmer, but I noticed at some point that there were like crazy good programmers and software engineers. And there was a moment I said, okay, I'm not I have to find something slightly usually when there is something very, very like a very specialized thing, is very difficult to stand out.
Yeah.
And I like more for myself, I like the idea of being unspecialized or
Mm.
mixing two things, mixing the crossover of two things and
Yeah.
try to stand out in that. And that's where I think my first books were a little bit like I'm explaining something like a software engine, like I'm explaining Japan
Yeah.
and explaining Japan in a way that everyone can understand, almost like a software engineer. So I found a way to cross my skills
Yeah.
and start writing books. And that's, yeah.
Where do you think the
So
fascination from Japan comes from, though? Like I know from you, you mentioned like video games and Nintendo. But when I was doing my thesis, like way, way long ago, like in 2000, I did it on the Sony Walkman. So like you,
Oh,
uh,
really? Now we
yeah,
could. I
yeah,
was I was reading today that
it's a
Sony
fascinating journey.
Morita. So probably you know
Yeah,
more. Morita at some point because when they created the Walkman, Sony was very small company.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
It
that's
was very small, and they created a Walkman, which was the first portable uh,
music.
music player ever.
Yeah,
And then there was a brand, I forgot, there was a brand from the US, or they wanted to like subcontract Sony and change the brands in the Walkmans and make them
really.
called something else.
Okay.
And the condition was they wanted like 100,000, which was insane for Sony. So it was very big money. And Morita, who was the CEO of Sony at that point, he
Hmm.
totally rejected it. He said,
Yeah.
"We will never." He said, 50 years from now, we will be bigger than you, and Sony will be known everywhere in the world. And we
Wow.
will not change the brand of our. We will put Sony.
Yeah.
And I read that today. Yeah, I didn't know that
It's
that
crazy.
he
Like,
was.
I encourage anyone not to read my thesis, but also just to go on the journey of trying to uncover the story of the Walkman. It is really, like, I love,
Okay.
and I was at that point that there wasn't anything before that. Like, we didn't have any influences in my own family about Japan, but I really was drawn to the simplicity and the minimalism that persists in Japanese design and culture. But one thing that happened to me around that time was I'm like a chameleon with my friends. Like, I've got lots of different pockets of friends. And one of my friends is called Deirdre Dunn. And Deirdre was like, "What do you write your thesis on?" I said, "I'm doing it on the Sony Walkman."
Mhm.
She goes, "Really?" My brother was involved with the Sony Walkman. And I was like, "Really? What? Did he sell it like in a shop in Dublin?" And he goes, "No, no, no. Turns out her brother is Anthony Dunn. For anyone listening, speculative design, Hirsch and Tails author
Mm.
of, yeah, he was at the RCA and now he's in Parsons in New York. Hugely influential person in the design world. And he gave me perspective and first-hand information of what it was like to be around Sony, in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. Now, you can just look at that as me kind of dropping in an interesting tidbit of information, but I'm keen to understand your kind of perspective on that as a philosopher as well. The whole role of synchronicities and how things happen and how things guide you.
Synchronicity.
Is that a bad word?
I
Synchronicities?
love. No, I love it. In fact,
Yeah.
I like synchronicity, or like I also like the word serendipity.
Serendipity. I love it as well.
Things that happen serendipitously. Like it's
Yeah.
very difficult to pronounce. I love these stories,
So,
like
but that whole
ideas.
kind of the cadence of how these things happen can send you in a different trajectory in your life. And that really helped me because I was literally an island studying design. I didn't have any, family influence to really help me get ahead in
But it
design.
was you from the story. It was you. I always think that you have to be ready when you see. I like a lot the quote from Steve Jobs that you will only be able to connect the dots after, and
Yeah,
then it will make sense. And
absolutely.
it's very from what and always when you look at those dots, it's like always times when you were ready,
Yeah,
and also times where your heart was in the right place and open, and you were proactive. It was you who asked like your friends and said, "Hey, I want to," and
true.
then so it was. If you said nothing, nothing would have happened.
Yeah,
Like it's very like proactivity, and that's something.
it's a good point.
There is always if you. I I think there are also phases where I think this is where might be people who are introvert, very introvert,
Mm,
versus people who are very extrovert.
yeah,
I think I'm introvert. So
yeah,
my strategy sometimes is if you want to create new stuff in your life or
mm,
chaos, like it's like commit or say yes to many things.
Sure.
And then, but at some point there is a it can reach a point of like like
I haven't been to
okay,
bed in 7 days.
yes, something
Yeah.
like that. And then I have times where I switch to the other mode that now on the internet they call it monk mode. But yeah, like the mode is like, okay, now I'm on my own. Like there is this also, there are many, I think I haven't wrote about this in my books, but there is the say yes and say no to everything. Like you reject, like,
Yeah.
and then, and so I think a better strategy for life is like, okay, don't be, I don't like being like, I like switching the mode,
Yeah.
like switching to, okay, now I like you said you are like now in quiet time in August, but
Yeah.
then maybe in September you switch and maybe
Yeah.
some
It's
new
gonna go
things will happen in September. But
gangbusters. Yeah, exactly.
so yeah, I would say that if you want to create serendipity, like you start saying yes a lot.
So the
But
conditions for serendipity to occur is really increasing your chances for luck to occur. Is that fair to say? Like,
yes, yes. In fact, that also interests me, like luck,
mm,
because the probabilities of luck to happen to you, it increases the more stuff you put into.
yeah,
Also for like having ideas, like also like reading a lot or like not reading anything or
yeah,
reading. Also, another strategy is like to read very diverse. Like if you're reading only one type of thing, then you will have one type of ideas.
yeah.
This is the same for movies or art. If you're always with the oh,
Sci-fi.
yes, so if you're always that's where I was always like sci-fi. And so then I try to force myself to read like broadly, and then you will start having more ideas.
And being
So
able to connect
for
dots.
Ikigai, I started reading many books about longevity, about
Mm,
Okinawan lifestyle, how to yeah, like a lot about also about flow. It's an idea that I
yeah,
put into the Ikigai book. Also about artists in Japan.
yeah,
So I started reading all these they seem very different, but like okay, the whole idea of this is Ikigai, and that's
yeah.
how the Ikigai book was born. It was also serendipity, but it was myself proactively looking for those.
The answers. Who created the? What came first? Was it the Venn diagram? I think Mark. I
Mark
can't remember.
Wynn, which
Mark
I
Lynn.
also talk. I met him also like this
Really?
in a call,
What was it? Was it like
because
a?
he lives in an. I always forget the. I'm sorry if he's listening. He lives in an island. I always forget. There is an island below. I think it's below the UK and France. That
On
I
Jersey
he
or
lives there.
Guernsey, somewhere around there. We're
In
disclosing his
yes.
location now.
So, but he says it online. He's there.
Yeah,
Uh,
but which came first? Was it the book or was it the Venn diagram?
the diagram was before,
Okay,
and then the book. Our book now also there. I have to. There are more than 100 books
and I
about Ikigai, but
yeah,
our book was the first one that said, "Okay, this is worth to write a book about."
Ikigai
And
Journey was it?
Ikigai, yeah, Ikigai Journey is the second one
Or
that
the
we
second
wrote.
one? So the one that I
The,
have is
the the Ikigai Journey is the second book, because the book that you have is the original one that we
yeah.
are very.
Oh, here, folks. Boom, 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 boom.
It's very open ended. I don't know if you notice. We don't answer. The main complaint we got is like, okay, this is all very nice, but how do I find my Ikigai? It's very
Yeah,
it's very open ended. It's an
it's an
inspirational book.
explanatory book. It's an
We are
explanatory.
not we are not giving you the answers. Like, and also
Yeah,
we try not to be dogmatic, because many people say you can only find your purpose in life if you do this or if you
yeah.
do that. Like we don't.
It's
We don't
funny.
attach ourselves to anything. And the second book, it's an answer to that. It's like, okay,
Okay.
we will give you some, but we also don't tell you exactly what to do. We give you like 35 ideas, and now you're on
Okay.
your own.
It's funny because when I coach change makers, and I call change makers who want to improve situations, whether that's organizational design, service design, or just going on their own journey to understand how they can improve situations for themselves. So it could be career change, whatever it is. But whenever I start talking about purpose, people seem to compartmentalize it into life coaching and self help.
Mm.
And I'm sure this is not a new concept for you in terms of like when you talk about Ikigai, you run into the whole kind of conversation about, oh, Tony Robbins, Ikigai, and all that. And I remember I watched a great episode you did with the folks at High Performance, and they called it
Yes. Yes.
shelf help books. And I thought that was brilliant. I said, someone needs to buy
Shelf. It
shelfhelpbooks.com.
goes to the shelf.
Yeah, it goes straight to the shelf. Yeah.
I like
And
that.
I
I
laughed out
like
loud.
I remember their humor. Like they
Yeah,
were
they're
very
very
funny.
British, very British humor,
Yes.
very dry, dark,
Goes to the
um,
shelf.
but it was really good. So, like for some reason, I don't know it's having a reaction for me inside when I talk about self-help books. It's almost as if it's dirty. It's almost like we don't want to be associated with it. Have you found that to be a sort of thing? Like there's an
Mm,
industry that's just evolved towards this.
I don't know. Because I think there is some. I, I don't have
An
a
answer.
strong opinion on this,
Yeah,
but there is some because this. I think there it's true. I think that there was some research that on self-help, like I think it's not like they magically you're going to read a book and it's going to change your life forever.
yeah,
That's the like that's not true. But I really believe that, and it doesn't matter if it's self, it can be a novel. I believe in the power of books
hmm,
to help you. Like if it shifts your perspective on something like 1 degree or like how you see, then that was good enough for me.
yeah,
I don't need to change your whole life.
hmm,
And so that's what I value in books. And it can be you can like there is also like classifying and putting your when I was writing the book Ikigai, I never thought I was writing a self-help book. But then they
yeah,
classified it there. They put it in a box. And then it becomes like self-fulfilling. But I never and then people started complaining, this is not a self-help book because
yeah,
it's not answering the question. Like, no, this is a book about we were traveling around Okinawa and we
yeah,
mixed some stuff. It's not a self-help book. So I don't know. I have mixed feeling. And then the next book, yes, it's we said, okay, now let's write a self-help book because it's what everyone is asking for.
yeah.
But then that one is selling much less because I
Okay,
think I think people like more to be inspired.
yeah,
I think that's my opinion.
and I agree.
But then self-help books can be also, you never know. It depends a lot also in the personality. As we said
Yeah,
before, if you're extrovert and you're more like with friends, you maybe you don't need you talking with friends, you get new ideas and it's helping
sure.
you. But there's some people that maybe you need books. And I can say that for me, books have totally shaped who I am and my life and everything. It's not,
Mm,
and I cannot identify like, okay, I had to read this book to be my. It's like the combination of all these things.
mm,
It has made me my ideas or like my values about how to
yeah.
see the world. So
So,
yes, and also like there is also this. It's very different now that I've been connected with audiences from all over the world.
mm,
Ikigai has been the top selling book in India for 3 years,
right.
like in all categories. And people there are much more, there is no, this what you said about self-help books, that there is some, they don't
Stigma.
have this. There is no, it's like all
Yeah.
for it, like, and they are pirating my book and they're making copies of it,
Mm.
and they're photocopying it, and they don't care. It's like there
Yeah.
is no,
It's about the
and
information.
I like that. I like the idea is there. Many
Yeah.
things are happening.
Well, folks, if you're photocopying Hector's book, don't do it. Try and buy the book if you can afford it, because
It's like,
Hector likes
like,
getting his royalty check. But
yeah,
I'll,
that's
I'll- I'm keen to understand. Do you believe if Ikigai, the concept of it, because it is a concept really, and it's a cultural concept as well that
mm,
persists in Japan. Is it exclusive to Japan, or are there other cultures around the
mm,
world that have something similar?
no, the only that's another thing. There is nothing secret or even or it's just a, I think the power of it is that it's just one word,
Yeah,
that you have to say the sentence like, what is your purpose in life?
yeah,
That's too long. So
yeah,
sometimes, like, putting something into one word, like, it's compressed. This is another software engineering. You're
yeah.
compressing information, so it's much easier if you're a parent and we see what do you want to be when you grow old, like we
Mm,
usually tell our kids. I think it's much more productive or more challenging to a kid,
yeah.
or like, if she or he's like 10 years old, if you ask them what is your ikigai, that will make you
Mm,
like, okay. Even an adult, there's like, you ask an adult like, what is your ikigai, you can ask like, what do you do, and like, okay, yes, I work in this company or I do this. But if
mm,
you ask what is your ikigai, then you start thinking more
mm.
at a different layer. It's like,
A different
and
level.
then it becomes a useful word, and then the kid will learn, okay, ikigai means the purpose of my life. What is my purpose in my life?
Mm,
And then you can start using it with friends, like, my ikigai is this, what is your ikigai? So it becomes like,
yeah.
and that's
And
the only thing I think I don't take much credit of. We just expand,
on that,
like
there's
yeah.
there's some great science and some research that backs the alignment to your purpose. I don't know if you can recount any of it, but I know there are pieces there that people who have aligned to their purpose are less likely to have health implications later in life, like stroke or heart attack. Is that correct?
Mm.
Hey, sorry for interrupting the episode, but I wanted to tell you about today's sponsor, Miro. Many people connect it to just being another business collaboration tool, but for me, it's so much more. I use it to manage my own Ikigai, to help me keep track of my own life and career. This one here that you can see won't get shared to anyone else, so it's a private board. Only I can see it. Now, the beauty of all this is I didn't need to create these canvases from scratch. People on the Miroverse upload them, and there's a constant stream of updated frameworks there for all us changemakers all around the world to use for free, many of which come with really detailed instructions on how to use them. So, for more information, see www.miro.com/podcast, where you can get 3 free canvases for free for life. Let's get back into that episode.
Yes, well, if you're actively doing something that gives you, like, it gives you purpose, that I think that there are many, in fact, there are many studies, and they're coming up more now,
Mm.
like, that you if you stop doing things that you love, then things will go bad. That's like, which in a sense it makes sense. It's like, we humans, we are made to be active
Yeah.
and do things. So sometimes I think, because in Spain, as Spanish, we all dream of that day. Oh, I will retire
Mm.
and do nothing, and go to the beach and have some drinks and do nothing.
Yeah.
And we have this dream of retirement, but that's totally, if you do
Really
that, maybe for 15 days it works, but if you do that for 15 years, it's like no good for you,
sets you
probably.
bonkers. Yeah.
Like, you have to do something else. Okay, I'm going to take care of, and it can be something simple. I always say, like, it doesn't need to be something complicated. It can be,
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to take care of my garden, or I'm going to take care of my family, or like,
Yeah.
it can be something extremely simple, but have something that gives you, okay, I wake up in the morning,
Mm.
this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. One of the pieces when I'm coaching on purpose, and I lean into the Ikigai kind of visualization, I guess, is people believe that all of those circles, those concentric circles, you have to tick every single one of them to find your Ikigai. Talk me through.
Listen, I'm also very open. It's
I know
like we can, like, the in the
problem
people
with
are
that.
surprised when I come to podcast and I say, like, I'm very creative. Like, you can make your own circles, or you can,
Yeah, add more to it. Like, it's there's no real.
but yes, be creative or destroy
Yeah,
it. Like, people are always ask about the money circle. It's like,
yeah.
okay, and that gets people very anxious. Like, money.
I think that's where the criticism comes
So
in for it, isn't it? That's where
yes,
people are kind of like, this is unobtainable."
but
That's what people say.
it's interesting. Like, let's go. Like, the four circles are like what we already talked before about, what you are good at.
Yeah.
As we were talking about, like, which it seems very simple, but sometimes we are wrong. Like,
Mm.
we are good at something that maybe we haven't even noticed, and that's good
Yeah.
exploring. And what you love doing, that this is the easiest, because I also, I recommend people to put, like crazy, like, go right, like, I love eating chocolate, or I like wine with friends, or
Yes.
write whatever you want. So that's the easiest one. And then, things you can make money with. And I always put, like, things that you're already now making money, like, it can be your profession, and something, it can be things that you suspect you could make money, but
Mhm.
you've never done it. Like, maybe you have dreams of, like,
Yeah.
you suspect you could make money online doing something, or maybe you suspect you could make a
Teddy
shop
bear.
and start selling bread in your neighborhood, because your
Mm.
bread is amazing, and maybe
Yeah.
you could make money with that.
Yeah.
And then, how to help the world. And this also, I like changing it to, how can you help others. It doesn't mean need to be something very big, like, okay, I'm going to help the whole world, like, Tony Robbins
So
style. It can be something, if a friend is having a hard time, just having having a tea with your friend, that's good enough. That's a good thing you're doing. Or
mm.
calling someone. Like, very small things is what I like, or what you can help the world. Like, s- so
Yeah.
that will give you some idea, and open your, not be dogmatic. Okay, I can only select this.
Yeah.
And the money thing, it's interesting. I made, I was, I've done many talks, like, not coaching, because I don't, but internal talks in companies,
Yeah.
and also to CEOs of, like, people who have basically millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And I talked to them. I was once in front of 200 CEOs with millions of dollars, and here I
Nice.
come to tell them about Ikigai. I was like I had like 100 voices in my head who I am to talk to these
Yeah.
people who are 100 times more successful than me. And
Well, that
then the question came, like, the question came is like, what, this circle about money, and the question from them was totally the reverse. It's like, I don't care about money. I want to
really.
I want to give back.
Mm.
So then I thought, well, then your circle for you is like, think about something that will give you purpose, not how to make more money, but how can you make other people around you make money, or how to
Mm.
move that money to
Share the
improve
wealth.
to help the world. Yes. So you can think it, yeah, in terms of wealth, like, how can I make people around me more wealthy?
Yeah.
Yes, so very, I'm very open with the good thing about this. Now going back to self, like, so there is no magic, like, okay, I will use this tool and then everything will be solved in my life, kind of. But you can use different tools to to open your mind and start thinking, oh, okay, now maybe if I try this, so that's good enough. And I
Yeah.
think that the Ikigai circles are a very good tool for that. Like, it will make you
Yeah.
think. And
The Ikigai piece is really interesting because when I first saw it, I was like, okay, I need to set up a weekly calendar invitation to maintain my Ikigai. It's like the Tamagotchi. You had to maintain this thing. It was you were walking around with it.
I like that.
I keep on dropping words, and your eyes just go ping. You're like,
Yes, I
yes,
know
I
Tamagotchi.
remember those.
Yes,
But Pokemon, let's see the effect that has on you. But
Pokemon.
but it was like a Tamagotchi in some ways. I was like, okay, cool. Now I need to reflect daily and see how I. And it became quite a chore, and I stopped doing it.
Yes, then that.
Now I was kind of like within the book. I don't know, maybe it was a book or an article that I saw. You said you shouldn't be using it like that. It's more of a reflective tool, maybe once or twice a year.
Yeah, I do. In fact, I do. I'm a person. I like. I have
How do you handle it, Hector?
my diary, and then I usually, as you said, like maybe once a year when you do the,
Mm,
I do the, I do it for myself and
yeah.
notice if maybe there is something. It's almost similar, but
Yeah.
maybe notice if there is something different. You're like,
Okay.
okay, this year I put a new thing. There is a new thing that it seems I like, or I think I'm
Mhm.
getting better at this. And then you can look and see, okay, what's changing. I
Can I?
do at the end, like people set the purpose, not the
Yeah.
purpose. How do you call it when you put your goals for the year? Like what?
Your
My,
resolutions.
yeah, that's the word. The resolutions.
Yeah.
I don't like. I don't. I'm a little bit of a rebel. I like doing the, like, my write down, like, my identity, like, this is
Yeah.
who I am. Like, I start like, this is who I am, and then I am Hector, I'm a writer, and these are the, and after that, then I write my, I do the circles, and I
Okay.
put that back, and then 1 year goes by very fast. So I have a notebook for every 3 years, and you can go back and
Actually,
see you can see small, you can
nuances.
see small things, like, okay, I'm shifting towards this. Mm,
Are you
so
okay if I ask you something quite personal in terms of your daily rituals?
yes,
How do you? What does that look like for you? Are you like you mentioned there about you write a paragraph of who you are? Can you recount what that paragraph
yeah,
is?
I like, right,
Hector Garcia
like,
is a Spanish person interested in
yes,
Doom
we can
and
go.
Quake.
But I like what you said. I always, I was a time, I like the word you said, like, it becomes a chore. So I also
Mm,
agree with you. If something, just make things, did do those. I like to have routines and everything, but I have become very flexible.
sure.
You have those things as tools to help you. So if I'm feeling anxious or something, it's like, okay, I have to sit down and I write my diary. It's
Mm,
not like I have to write my diary every day, because then it becomes a
okay.
chore.
Yeah.
So the same thing with this is usually, when it becomes December, I'm thinking like, whoa, next year is coming. Then I sit down
Yeah.
and I do it. So let's see for this. That's interesting. I'm also writing how to. So it says identities for 2023 is like, it's very simple. It's like, I'm a writer, and it says below, write better, like, write more and better. Follow my curiosity and keep learning. So that's all.
Okay.
So, and then this is, I don't know if I'm going to share this one. People will
Come
make
on.
fun.
You don't
The
have to share
second
the.
one, I am. This could be the title of a book. This one, this is the first ever I'm sharing. I'm Mr. Curiosity. Curiosity is the unifying thread in my life. Curiosity
Yeah,
is my guiding star.
yeah.
So there you have it. These are like
What's wrong with
this.
that?
This is my two
I think that's
identity.
really.
These are my like Mr. Curiosity. So that becomes my identity this year. Like I have
Yeah,
to search for new things.
but we chuckle at that, but when we look at the kind of historical last decade of what you've produced, curiosity underpins all of that. Like you're trying to
Yes.
find
So the
find the
I was
answer.
trying to find the under. That's a good way to put. I guess you use that like when you don't know what you're thinking about yourself, like try to find what's the underlying theme or something that is
Yeah,
happening. Sometimes it's like, okay, you're a person who loves doing things with other people, working in teams. Then, and maybe you're doing very different things, but the underlying thing is like you love working with people. So you have
yeah,
to look for those underlying. And for me, it's curiosity because it's like I love Japan and I've written many books about Japan,
yeah.
but I'm very curious about the world. I want to learn things
Mm.
about everything.
There's a kind of a place within the Ikigai where if you are an introvert and you might not enjoy being around people, is there a risk there that you can kind of design your Ikigai to be, working in isolation in an attic? I'm talking about myself here. I work for
Yes,
myself
like
in an
you're
attic.
very.
And
Mine is not an attic, but I'm also today. I'm also in monk. I am in monk mode. The most
yeah.
social moment in my day today is with you.
So I lived in Australia and I'm home from Australia 5 years. And when you work primarily online, I train online, I coach online.
Oh, wow.
You could say I've been in monk mode, but I guess is there a risk there? And I haven't created my ikigai with that in mind. Okay, I do love being around people, but I am introvert extrovert, so I kind of have to watch my energy level.
You have to switch
I have to switch.
modes.
I have to
That I
perform.
say.
Yeah, I'm a performer at times, and then I just want to come back and get into my little cave here and create podcasts and
Yeah, I don't know.
right.
I want your advice on this. This is a question. Like, I don't know. I like the
Talk to me,
switch
Hector.
mode.
How can I help
I
you?
like. I need help on this. I like monk mode too much. Yeah, switching modes and maybe creating plans like with
Yeah,
other people, which that's the like committing. Like I'm going to get to meet these people. That's the
but is there a risk there, like that we need to get a second perspective, perhaps, on the ikigai to make sure that we're not designing ourselves into a potential pitfall for that's going to impact our life. Do you know what I mean? Like I know
yes,
you mentioned
maybe
computer
because
games.
I'm thinking maybe this is what I've done with myself. And I'm thinking now like yes, I'm writing. I'm a write. I can write my books by like I have piles of. I
I can
read
just
books
see
and
it
I
now.
write books.
The next book,
So
why I've stopped writing, thanks to
you
Jerry.
are like yes. Why I stopped writing and I'm like yes. That's the yeah. You have to be careful. Like to the
Hmm,
this, but like I'm thinking a lot. Well, there is another. With I also don't like. I like the word balance a lot. Like
yeah,
in everything in life, like there are some to criticize. There's some self help books or like there's some books that they are very radical. Like usually
yeah,
it's America, US authors. They say this is the only way. This you have to do
yeah.
this, and
To make money and
or like sometimes it's about diets. You can only eat this. And you can only and some is about you have to exercise every day and kill yourself like or you have to like there is this grind mode like you have to work every day 15 hours or wake up
also,
at 5 in the morning.
yeah,
So that's all okay. You can try that. But I'm all for balance. And in the book Ikigai, we also talk about like a balanced diet. It's
Yeah.
okay. The longest living people in the world, they we saw them eating everything. I
Yeah.
saw 100-year-old people drinking beer, eating chocolate, like they were like very balanced. I think for yeah, for selecting like doing things in life, not only about ikigai, but is balance. If you're
Yeah.
always you are in a monk mode for a while, then you get out. Then you
Yeah.
find what's good for you. So that's my answer.
Absolutely. Experiment and explore.
Balance and change your mode.
Yeah. I mean, you know the actor John Cleese, the comedian John Cleese?
Ah, yes.
Yeah, he was a Monty Python. He's a really nice kind of talk. It's on YouTube about creativity and the subconscious.
Yeah, I read his book.
Oh, I haven't which
His
book?
book is amazing. I forgot the title, but it's a book on creativity by him,
He's a genius. Like he's one of the
and
greats. I put
he's
him up
very
there.
short. It's a very short book, but it's like, oh wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, he has a really interesting piece where he talks about the analogy of a flower and what we can learn from plants and how, like, there's certain times where the plant comes down at nighttime daily and it, gets its energy from when it opens up and photosynthesis happens and so forth. He's really, really strong, but he speaks about a piece about the subconscious, and I'd love to talk to you a little bit more around the kind of the power of the subconscious. He wrote a really famous TV show called Faulty Towers in the UK.
Hmm.
And the story I tell was he wrote the script. This was like in the 70s, and he hand wrote it out, maybe typewrite it. And when it came to sending it into the BBC, he was going through a divorce, I believe, one of his many divorces, and he could not find the script to send in, and it had to be sent in by a certain date in order for it to get kind of approved. So he was in a panic, couldn't find it, turned the house
Yes.
upside down, and he said, "There's nothing for it. I'm going to have to rewrite this script." And he rewrote the script, and he wrote it in 2 or 3 days, and he sent it off, and he made the deadline. And that script is what was produced, okay, and they became, classics, TV classics. Now, when he was clearing out the house a number of years later after the divorce, he found the original
Mm.
script.
It
And he
was
says
almost
now
the same.
he was in a position now to compare the two scripts, like the original script and the second script. And what he saw was the second script tied up an awful lot of the loose ends in the stories much
Yes,
better,
it was probably better.
and it was much
But
better. So you know the kind of the essence of the story. And I'd love to know about the activities that you weave into your life, because I guess people see that you've written the book and there's a natural assumption that, like, you have it all sorted. I know that's probably not
no,
true. But what do you see the role of the subconscious in how we live our lives? Like, what can we be doing? What can you do to maybe encourage people to think more about the power of the subconscious and leaving things sit?
I one of the main things is feed it with good information.
Yeah,
So I'm very careful. The same way you select good food to put inside your body,
yeah,
then you kind of become like select good things or not. It doesn't have to. I don't like the word good. Like select what you're going to read or
consume.
consume.
Mm,
So I become more careful. Like on the internet these days, is like you can you can go totally sideways. You start in a social network, like you start doom scrolling
yep,
into I
been
don't
there.
know. We've all been there, and then suddenly you're like start liking something, and then your timeline becomes all
I
like it becomes all rabbits or cats jumping. It's like okay, that's fun for a while.
yeah,
But then there is some other subtle things that maybe if you start and you're being manipulated without even noticing, and that all
mm,
goes to your subconscious.
yeah,
So I'm very I use all kinds of we could go nerdy here. I
yeah. Go nerdy.
on tweet like on my I try to not have any on my iPhone. I try to have no applications that have, I call it like y- infinite information.
Okay.
I don't put that. That's like because I'm like, as you said, we're all, even the most, maybe there is some people who have a very strong will, but I don't have. I'm
Not
very
me.
human. If I have one coffee and I open an application with infinites, then I will be 30 minutes there.
Yeah, that's true.
I have it on my computer that it's a little not in my book. In my I have a computer for writing, which also it has no social networks.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
So I have one laptop that is for like, okay, I'm going to have fun.
Yeah.
It's an old laptop, and that's where I have Twitter and everything. And that's for Twitter. I use lists, so I only consume, and usually I don't have time to read all. It's like very random.
Yeah.
So I have some systems to protect myself, the information, how it will come to me. Does it make
Mm.
sense?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's in the story. I like the story you said about the sub. Like
Subconscious.
that has happened to me many times at a very not as extreme as a whole script.
Mm.
But I think for you to, if you write online or something, sometimes you delete, like sometimes you don't save in the computer a file
Yeah.
and you lose it. We've all been there. But then you write it again and it was all there
Power.
mysteriously and it becomes better.
Yeah.
So sometimes you wonder. And recently, last year, I published my first novel. It's only in Spanish.
Hmm.
I
Which
wrote
one
in
is that?
Spanish. Only in Spanish. I don't know if it will be ever in English. It's
Okay.
a novel with the protagonist is science fiction in Japan, in Kyoto.
Okay.
And anyway, I was writing, and sometimes I will write a story about the character, do something,
Mm.
and I didn't realize a novel it can become so long and things that even the I learn a lot about writers. I think novelists they get asked about their novels, and the fans know more about the novel than themselves.
Probably.
So after 2 3 months, I would forget this character. What did he do?
Really.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Maybe in chapter like because it's been 3 months and it was like I don't know 100 pages before. And maybe I'm writing and I write again and the character does the same thing.
Sure.
And then later editing, I noticed like, whoa, I wrote exactly the same thing 3 months ago. It was like two paragraphs, the character. So, and it's there, like my, and then I start, this is also a little bit depressing. You realize like human beings, we are not, there are all these artificial intelligence, like large
Yeah,
language models. We are not that intelligent or creative. Like we are repeating in a loop the same things.
that is true.
And then okay, I'm writing with my morning coffee, and that's like.
I've
And then
done
I realize, this sounds similar. I go 100 pages. What is it? Exactly the same
I've
thing I
written
wrote.
this. This
So
narrative has been written twice.
the power of subconscious is very, very
It's
mysterious,
real.
but you also have to realize how limited our brains are. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so
So where do you see Ikigai like at the moment in terms of its popularization, I guess, post pandemic? Like I've
yes,
seen a lot of people talking about it and the big resignation, I think is what they call it in America. Um the pandemic has probably done an awful lot for, the word Ikigai generally and search terms. Where do you see it going in the future post pandemic?
I don't know.
You know?
These are the questions that I don't know. It's very what I know is true. Like it is more the most popular than ever. Like it was
Yeah,
first published in 2016 in
right.
the Spanish version.
Hmm.
So now it's been almost 7 years since it
Okay.
was first published. Now it's has been translated to 70 languages, which is
Oh,
kind of is the most translated Spanish
amazing.
book in, I don't know, in 40, 50 years. There is no
Wow.
other. And I think it's a combination of how the message connects with, because they're amazing writers, much better writers than me in Spain, but
Mm.
maybe they only write love novels, and that's also maybe
Are we
only Latin American Spanish people like those type of. The Ikigai message is very universal. That's what
yeah.
I realized.
Mm.
So it's out there. It has sold almost 5 million copies now,
Wow.
like 70 languages. So I don't know what else. My challenge now is to write something else that I think that there's also this about this also maybe you can help me. Like when someone there is a success that I feel that it is that that
Holding you
thing I
back.
wrote not holding me back, but it's always it's a book I wrote. It was published in 2016, so I was writing it in 2014 and 15.
Yeah.
And now we are 2023, and I'm here with you talking about it. And
Talking
so
about. Yeah.
it's not it's not bad, but it's like okay, it's like the subconscious, like it's always like.
Yeah. There's
So
something.
my challenge for me is like, okay, how do I create? Well, I don't think I will ever. I will probably come up with other ideas
Yeah.
or popularize, because I don't think the idea is original from me. It's like
Mm.
popularize some. That's also something I realized about. I'm more like putting things together and explaining them. That's
Yeah.
my superpower.
Well,
I
here's an
think
idea for you.
ideas I get. In fact, I'm getting ideas from podcasters lately.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. No, I
from
was going to say, well, here's an idea for you because I stumbled across a Japanese term, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. It was during the pandemic called the misogi. You know,
Misogi. Yes,
you know about misogi? So there's a much broader conversation to be had around the Japanese culture. And I guess it's kind of the interest of the Japanese wisdom, like, like this whole kind of mystique that persists around the Japanese culture as it being quite profound and deep and reflective naturally. Do you want to talk a little bit more around like misogi and what you know about that? Like, because it's really interesting when you weave that into your. It's like if the ikigai is at the top level, and then a little bit further down, like things that you can do to really increase the quality of your life is the misogi. Um,
the
would you agree?
interesting thing about what is it? The interesting the interesting thing about this misogi concept, I think I also part of like to be blamed. Like the ikigai concept has changed in Japan. Is like very it has changed after writing our book, and now so many books about it. The meaning is slightly different.
Okay.
And misogi, but its purpose of life is the same thing.
Yeah.
So misogi is a Japanese word that means it's a ritual for cleansing, usually done in like you go to a waterfall
Mhm.
and you go below the waterfall to withstand. It's usually very cold water,
Mhm.
and you have to withstand. Usually, you have to put your hands together, and you have to. It's a Shinto ritual, Shintoism.
Yeah.
So it's to cleanse yourself, and it's also saying it's a challenge because you have to be in the cold water below that waterfall.
Yeah.
And so that's the meaning of misogi. Now I forgot who it was. I think his name is Easter. There was an author in the U.S. who kind of not mistranslated, but he got the word misogi and created the misogi challenges in the U.S., which
Okay.
that doesn't exist in Japan. So I'm sorry to.
Ah,
There is no misogi in Japan. Misogi is just being below a waterfall with water. And so I read the books. I love the book by. I wish I be better with names of books. But then there is a second book by a friend of the guy who invented this misogi concept. Because I think it's the word, and now in the US it's a different thing. It's like it has become misogi is like now in the US is a synonym of having a very 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 extreme challenge
Mm,
that you think you will not be able to accomplish, but I think he defines it as like 80% of the times you will maybe accomplish it. So maybe you've only run 20 kilometers in your life at once.
yeah.
So a Misogi challenge for you would be to run 40 kilometers,
Mm,
and then you do it. And this Misogi concept of having a super challenge for yourself, this is an American made thing,
yeah.
which
Okay.
I have to say I love it.
Yeah.
But and the word is Japanese, that's correct. But the meaning has become totally different. That's the only
Right.
thing. So
An
for
American.
me, I could write about misogi, but I don't know. I feel like in the last book by Easter, he talks about misogi very. He does a very good work. There
Yeah.
is no need for anyone to write something about it.
Any more than that. But there's the
But yeah,
purification.
I like it. Maybe I could write a book about the real misogi.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know if that would be that would probably be boring, like go in the
no, no, no.
waterfalls and and
So that whole
purify
concept,
yourself.
the whole concept of having one big event that you're really proud of,
Yes,
that defines your year, and
yeah,
then
that's
six smaller little adventures throughout the year to kind of stimulate
in fact,
brain.
i- in
So the
fact I like
purification.
the idea a lot, and I want to do misogi challenges.
Well,
In fact,
maybe
I
we
have
can
to. I
encourage.
want. I've only done. I want to do the real misogi in a waterfall in Japan.
Yeah, I'd love to do
It's
that as
it's
well. That was the
very scary.
original, because when I heard it, I Googled it and I was like, okay, there's this whole kind of purification piece around
Yes,
going
so
to a waterfall.
I love the idea and the whole concept, and the whole concept has already been exported
Oh, right.
and
Yeah.
to the US. So I love it, but I don't know what I can bring to it.
What's how's it been received in Japan, Hector? Like in terms of when you go into restaurants or you're in social circles and people say, "Oh, you wrote the book about Ikigai." Is there
Yeah,
is there how has it been received over there?
they love. In fact, Japanese people, they love when something that is from them it becomes successful
Right.
outside of Japan, and then they freak out. They love it. They love these ideas. Like
So there's been no
so
kind of
they freak
adverse
out. So.
pushback. That's kind of
No,
cool.
no, no. They're like very, very,
Open to
very. Yes.
yeah, well
As
that's good.
long, well, another of my philosophies is always saying there are many bad things about, as in any culture, there are many bad things about Japan too. I
Mm,
think it's not an ideal place, it's not a paradise. But so some of the criticism I get in my books is that I never talk about the bad things. But I think
yeah,
I
yeah.
leave that to other people. There are many books, very good Japan books about bad things in Japan. Jake Alstein's his books are very good.
Mm,
So I leave that word for him.
oh,
I prefer to focus on the positive things.
sure.
So uh, that's my, I
That's your
think,
take
one
on
of
it.
my missions.
Well, look, Hector, we're coming towards the end of the episode. Like we've covered quite a lot of ground in the last hour and a bit. Like I'll throw a link to this
Thank
wonderful book,
you.
Ikigai, which is
Thank you
the
very
second book.
much, Gary.
And if people want to reach out to you, and I know you've got a newsletter on your website, Hector Garcia.
Yes, which now you're putting me on the. I've never
You've never
this
published
this
anything.
this I'm so focused on writing books that
Yeah,
I've never sent an email to that, but
yeah.
maybe I should put that in my things to do next year.
Next year.
Start
Yeah.
sending emails,
Well,
or
which
maybe this year. Maybe now that
maybe this year. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the main place to find me is hectorgarcia.org. And
Yeah.
from there, you can find my Twitter and my Instagram.
Yeah. I'll
And the
follow the links.
mailing list, probably when I start sending emails, they will be awesome. I
Yeah.
like. I have one in the one in Spanish. I send emails, but
Okay.
very when I do mailing list, I like the idea of making something very very personal because
Yeah.
these days there are so many mailing lists
It's true.
that we get. So when you get an email from me, it will be very personal and it will only happen every 3 or 6 months. So yeah,
Okay.
join my mailing list. It will
Yeah.
be
You've heard it here, folks.
it
Folks.
will be like having an email from a friend. That's how I
Very
like
good.
mailing lists.
Well, I'll put a link to that on the website as well. And listen, look, we haven't even spoken about your boxing career, but best of luck with
Yeah,
your. There's
you
another
will
heck.
find another Hector Garcia who is a boxer.
He is a challenger.
Uh,
But if you're googling Hector Garcia, make sure you Google the author. There is only
yeah,
one Hector
author.
Garcia.
Hector Garcia, author. Yes, you have to put
Yeah.
now one more word to find me.
Well, look, Hector, I always thank the guests for giving me their time, their openness, their energy, and their vulnerability about me being put on the spot. I really, really, really enjoyed. I was looking forward to speaking to you for several months. So I'm delighted to find you've connected.
Thank you.
And I'll put a link to all those wonderful books in the show notes. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.